For the third time in the last 4 games, the Buffalo Bills passing offense struggled. I'll tell you what happened this time today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Well, folks, welcome in. It's time for the ALL-22 film breakdown of the Bills' 30-13 loss to the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about the offense, the defense, studs and duds, snap counts, and we'll also later on get to some newsy items, including injury updates for Landon Jackson and Dalton Kincaid. The Bills added a new speedy receiver to the practice squad, and I'll have some thoughts on Brian Daboll's firing as head coach of the Giants later on. But let's start with the main thing, and that is this Buffalo Bills passing offense once again having some issues. And statistically, I suppose it was pretty good. Josh Allen goes 28 of 40 for 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But you know, if you watch this game, that it wasn't that, right? It was a struggle, right? There's some issues. And I went through and watched it all, of course, and I want to share with you my top takeaways. And one thing that I did for the Herd Mentality Substack and our Locked On Bills subtext community is I sent out a file of over 30 minutes of me breaking down plays from this game. And the first 15 plays that I show are the 12 incomplete passes and the 3 sacks that Josh Allen took in this game. So the 15 failed passing plays, if you will. Now, obviously, there were some completed passes where there were some process issues, but for the actual 12 interceptions and the 3 sacks, you know, I showed exactly what went wrong on those plays. And so let me give you just a synopsis of the failure on those 15 plays, because everyone's got a finger to point, and a lot of people want to point it at Joe Brady. A lot of people want to point it at Brandon Beane and, you know, the receiving talent that is or is not there. A lot of people want to maybe point it at Josh Allen. Well, as I try to communicate as often as I possibly can, it's never just one thing. It's never just one thing. It's several contributing factors to something not going well in the game of football. So on those 15 plays in particular, I charted 4 times as the reason it being a failed pass play is that nobody was open. Like, legitimately, you didn't have anywhere to go with the football. 3 times I would attribute it to Josh Allen turning down an open receiver. So you say no to something, you work deeper into the progression, and it eventually ends in an incomplete pass. 1 time I thought that Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir were not on the same page. It was the screen to Josh Allen's right. Josh Allen tried to lead him into space. Khalil Shakir wanted to catch it from a static position. We'll just chalk it up to them not being on the same page. I think Josh is probably right. You want to lead him into the yards after catch opportunity, but Shakir was static. 2 times the ball was dropped. 2 times it was an inaccurate throw from Josh Allen. And 3 times it was a protection issue that didn't allow for the pass to be completed. Now, the thing that's disappointing about the 2 inaccurate throws from Josh Allen is they're both to Keon Coleman, right? And Keon's had a lot of struggles this year, and he had struggles in this game, but there's no denying that on 2 instances, he had vertical separation and Josh didn't give him a catchable ball. The first one, Keon actually does a really good job of separating down the field. He holds the red line all the way down, and Josh throws the ball. It's out of bounds, and Keon has inside leverage on the player, and the ball is just not correctly placed. It wasn't catchable. The other was underthrown. It was tipped, and then Keon, you'd love for him to catch it off the ricochet, but ultimately Keon had great vertical separation. Josh underthrew the ball, and couldn't make the play. So that's the disappointing part of this is you have 40 attempted throws, only 2 that I thought were really not catchable, and they're both down the field chances to Keon Coleman, of all people, right? So those, that's what I saw. The 15 failed plays, 4 times nobody open, 3 times Josh Allen turned down an open receiver, once not on the same page with Shakir, 2 drops, 2 inaccurate throws, and 3 protection breakdowns. Josh Allen's average time to throw in this game was ridiculously high, 3.31 seconds. That's the most or the highest average time to throw of any Week 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I'm recording this before Monday Night Football, so I don't know if these quarterbacks tonight, Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts, will top that, but it'd be tough to top 3.31 seconds. It just speaks to the lack of rhythm that he's playing with, right? And there's contributing factors across the board. But ultimately, it goes back to what Josh told us after the Carolina game. It's trust. It's trusting what he's being asked to do, trusting what he's seeing, trusting protection, trusting receivers. He just doesn't have it right now. And I know that the Kansas City game was a wonderful, wonderful example of Josh Allen executing at a high level. But 3 of the last 4 games, he didn't, right? And the passing game didn't function at a high level. And so, yeah, we love that Chiefs game, and we'll celebrate that Chiefs game. But again, zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, you got 3 of the last 4 games that you're coming away pretty concerned about the state of the passing offense. And I certainly recognize, Dalton Kincaid gets injured in this game, and boy, he matters, right? You're still without Joshua Palmer, so your 2 best separation guys, not available. Not great. But you need to have more efficiency from your passing offense because structurally that's what this is supposed to be, an efficient passing offense. And it just hasn't been. Josh Allen did have 1 interception. I want to comment on that after having a chance to review the tape. I think the Bills are trying to get the ball to Tyrell Shavers on an in-cut. So you have 2 shallow outbreakers that's designed to create space behind it for an in-cut from Tyrell Shavers. And everything on the play works except for Tyrell Shavers gets rerouted at the line of scrimmage by Jack Jones. He wasn't able to really beat the press coverage. It throws off the timing of the route. And by the time it uncovers where Josh can throw it, well, they rush 7. The Bills had a 6-man blocking surface. The protection breaks down because they don't have enough blockers, and the route didn't uncover quick enough. And Josh Allen can't get what he wants on the throw, and it's intercepted. And it was not a pass targeted for Dawson Knox. It was for Shavers. And Shavers, it took long enough. He got open, but Jack Jones, the Dolphins corner, did a good job of rerouting him at the line, and it took him a lot longer to get to that spot. Josh Allen wasn't able to get enough on the throw. It's picked off. I thought at the core of, from a scheme perspective, right, we could talk about, talent issues or whatever, but from a scheme perspective in terms of what I thought Miami did a really good job of that was effective in getting the Bills' passing offense out of rhythm, their simulated pressures were phenomenal in this game. And so what is a simulated pressure? A simulated pressure is when you show you present a pressure look. You got a lot of bodies down on the line of scrimmage, but you ultimately only rush 4 of them. And they're not the 4 you expect, right? So you'll have your 4 down linemen, and you'll have slot corners or safeties or linebackers all just mugged up on the line of scrimmage. And then all but 4 will rush, right? So, and then different players will drop out. And they did a really good job with that. And I think it's the right idea. Obviously, Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, comes from this Mike Macdonald coaching tree. He's now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. They're known for their simulated pressures, and you can see that Anthony Weaver had the right stuff. But what a simulated pressure does is it creates confusion, right? Because the offensive line, the protection scheme, doesn't know which 4 players are coming. And then you have a quarterback that's obviously concerned about the protection, but concerned about routes on the field, but you're not exactly sure who's going to drop off and where the space is going to be. And it's just the right plan against this Bills offense to create confusion. And that can lead to free runners at the quarterback. It can lead to your quarterback moving through progressions at a tempo that they don't want to because all of a sudden there's people where they're not expecting them to be. And it leads to, lack of comfort in the pocket for your quarterback. And I thought Miami's defense did a very good job of affecting Josh Allen in this passing offense by the use of simulated pressures. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up here as we talk about the struggles of the passing offense against Miami is game script. And I know some people don't want to hear about game script. Well, you need to learn to like to hear about game script because it matters so much in being able to execute. And the Bills, of course, you watch this game, they were trailing for most of it. They're down 16. They chased it. Sean McDermott told you they chased it. And so you look at this game, the Bills were 16% play action. They're 7% screen. Those are way lower than their norms. The Bills are typically 28% play action. They were 16% play action. For the year, they're 13% screen. They're down to 7% screens. And here's the thing about both screens and play action. The Bills are top 5 in yards per play on play action and screens. Top 5 in the National Football League. And because you couldn't run your normal offense because this became a drop-back passing game for you, the Bills, you didn't get into your more easy button throws for Josh Allen in the ways that you typically do. And so everything was harder. The Dolphins are teeing off. They're showing their simulated pressures. You're not two-dimensional. You're chasing the script. You're not into your play action stuff. You're not in your screen stuff. And guess what? You have a passing offense that lacks rhythm. So there you go. That's what happened. A lot of things contributed to it. It's not just one thing. It's all of that. And so go to my good buddy, Bruce Nolan. He can give you the plurality pie on that. But it's a lot of contributing factors that led to this bumbling Buffalo Bills passing offense. All right, we got more to do. We'll talk about the rushing offense, and we'll do offensive snap counts here next. So, folks, be sure to stick with me. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos that your software created. It's simple to use, and it gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill in the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next basket to the fourth quarter comeback possibilities. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So check it out right now. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back, folks, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network where it is your team every day. All right, let's talk about the rushing offense. Not a good day. Actually, the least productive day for the Bills rushing offense all season long. It's the first time all year they didn't have 100 rushing yards. They have 87 on 22 carries. James Cook, 13 rushes, 53 yards. The Bills on James Cook's carries, the 13 carries he had 8 gap runs. You had 5 zone runs. Joe Brady said something in his press conference that rings pretty loud to me. He said, "We ran it too much early." Yeah, I agree. I wrote about this in the Herd Mentality Substack. This is a quote from the article, the scouting primer that I put out end of last week to get ready for this game. I said, while Buffalo loves to run the football, the passing game opportunities that can control the game script should make this a pass-aggressive game for Buffalo early in the contest. I thought it was a very clear way to attack this defense. And this is like 3 times now where me and Joe Brady, we just don't see it the same. We just don't. And it's unfortunate because I feel like there's some really clear opportunities on how to attack a specific defense where you just got to do the right stuff at the right times. And the Bills didn't. They came out wanting to be two-dimensional, probably running it a little bit too much early, and took away from some of the opportunities, especially early downs early in the game. And the Bills ran the ball into stacked boxes a lot. 54% of runs for James Cook went into stacked boxes. Jordan Brooks, the Dolphins' middle linebacker, he was a monster. He was a monster. And, you know, one thing that does concern me is that this is the second divisional game of the year. And one thing that's rings through to me all the time, I had a conversation with an NFL scout several years ago, and they said one of the best ways to evaluate a football team and players is the second divisional game, right? It's the second time that they see them in the same year. You're playing a lot of common opponents. You're watching a lot of common tape. How do you look in the second game? And not a good story to tell here for the Bills at all, and especially when it comes to the rushing offense. Just didn't get it going in ways that they typically can. And credit to Miami, their defense was gap sound. They did well to compress and limit cutback opportunities for James Cook. And their young defensive linemen, Jordan Phillips and Kenneth Grant, you could tell they're getting a lot better. You could tell. And I thought their entire front did a really good job of defending the run. And look, ultimately the Bills offense lacked rhythm, and the run game was no exception. And so it all goes hand in hand. You're not two-dimensional. It's hard to throw it. It's hard to run it. And credit Miami. They had a good plan defensively with their simulated pressures. Their front was sound with their gaps. Their second level played downhill. And they limited this Bills offense to 16 points. Offensive snap counts. 68 plays for the Bills offense. Josh Allen played 65 of those. Mitch Trubisky, 3. At running back, James Cook played 34. Ty Johnson, 27. I wonder how much of Ty Johnson playing a comparable amount of snaps to James Cook was James Cook kind of playing through an ankle injury. Also, you did have a pressure-oriented front with the Dolphins, although Ty Johnson only pass blocked, I think, on 3 snaps. So it wasn't like it was a big, hey, we're going to block with, a running back all the time. So probably a combination of both, plus the game kind of got out of hand. Ray Davis, 7 snaps. Reggie Gilliam, 18 snaps. At tight end, Dawson Knox had 46 snaps. Jackson Hawes, 29. Dalton Kincaid, 18 before he left with an injury. Alec Anderson played 1. At receiver, Khalil Shakir played the most snaps, 45. Keon Coleman, 42. Elijah Moore, 25. Curtis Samuel, 24. And Tyrell Shavers, 25. All of your offensive linemen that started the game played all 68 snaps. All right, let's talk about the Bills' passing defense. Tua goes 15 of 21, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The Bills just didn't get any pressure on him. Only 5 pressures and 21 dropbacks for Tua. And Tua was able to play in rhythm. And he threw 2 interceptions, but let's be honest, they were both arm punts. They're good plays by the Bills. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy about those interceptions, but the timing of them was really good for Miami. It's 3rd down, and they wind up being like pretty good punts, especially on the second one where you have the block in the back on the return or whatever it was, personal foul. They wind up the Bills start the possession at the 12-yard line. So, you get 2 takeaways, but the timing they might as well just been punts, to be honest. No short fields or anything like that. But not enough pass rush, not enough to get Tua out of rhythm. The Dolphins did a really good job of using motion, which put their receivers into like free releases into their routes and stressed the communication of the Bills defense. And they were able to get some rhythm throws. Tua made some throws, give him credit. The bomb to Jalen Waddle, obviously a good play. Had a big throwback across the field. They rolled him out to his left, and then he threw back across to Waddle on that corner route. Had a nice keep the play alive check down to Devon Achane for a big gain. They got Greg Dulcich on a rollout pass. So they played within rhythm, but then also when it wasn't there, credit to Tua. He processed deeper in snaps and made plays. I want to highlight a couple of things with Maxwell Harrison. Obviously, you look at the early play that he gave up to Jalen Waddle, and I think it was a really good learning rep for Max. He's in off-man coverage, and it was an example of him just kind of having some arrogance about his speed, thinking that he was going to be able to backpedal, transition, flip his hips, and then run and be with Jalen Waddle. Well, the problem is he just didn't have enough contact there. And so you have Maxwell Harrison pedaling backwards, having to flip his hips, turn and run, and Jalen Waddle sprinting. What Max Harrison needs to learn there is you got to get into his space. You've got to get into the space of that receiver. and not just trust yourself to flip your hips and run with anybody, right? This is Jalen Waddle. It's the National Football League. You've got to be able to get into his space to slow him down through that transition from your pedal into your, flipping of your hips and carrying down the field. And so that got him in trouble, and they had a nice completion. But what I like about that is how he improved later on when he intercepted the pass. Now, it wasn't off-man coverage. It was zone. But Hairston is in that side saddle technique, and he does a really good job of squeezing and collapsing and getting into Jalen Waddle, which slows him up down the field. And then he makes Jalen Waddle play through him to go get the ball, and he can't, right? Hairston's able to be the one that finishes the play. So really good in-game improvement. And, you could kind of see the highs and lows of, hey, you give up a touchdown catch on a bomb to now you take away the football and you correct the thing that, led to Waddle being free down the field. So good growth in game. And I thought that was a good positive for Hairston. There's going to be ups and downs as a rookie, but I think it's been way more ups than downs to this point. I want to shout out Cole Bishop's interception. I thought it was a great play. He's the one high deep safety, which is not necessarily my favorite spot for him to be, but he does a good job cheating towards the passing strength. They were 3-by-2, 3 to one side, 2 to the other. Bishop is cheating towards the 3 side. And then, he's the one high middle of the field safety. And so he just does a good job of reading the backfield. Tua stares it down the whole time. He doesn't do anything to hold Bishop or force him to think about going the other way. He stares it down the whole time. Bishop's reading the eyes, go make a play on the ball, pick it off. It was a great play by Cole Bishop. And in particular, because it's a deep zone rep, and that's not been my favorite place for Cole Bishop to this point. So love the growth from Cole Bishop so far this season. And I thought he was the Bills' best defensive player by far in this game. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk run defense, and I think the Bills made a big mistake with how they defended the run. We'll do defensive snap counts, studs and duds, and get caught up on a bunch of newsy stuff here next, folks. Be sure to stick with me.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back, folks. Let's continue our all-22 review. I want to comment on the Bills' run defense. The Dolphins ran the ball really well. 32 carries, 197 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Something that I thought was kind of goofy from the Bills' scheme in this game, especially because they played a lot of 3 linebacker defense so far this year. They didn't against Miami. They only played 3 snaps of base defense against the Dolphins. And Miami ran the ball out of either 2 backs and or 2 tight ends. So heavy personnel that would dictate base personnel for your defense being on the field. They did that 24 out of the 32 runs. 24 out of the 32. And the Bills were in 3 linebacker defense, only 3 snaps. And when the Dolphins ran the ball out of 11 personnel, they had 8 carries for 38 yards. That's 4.2 yards per carry. When they ran it out of either 2 backs or 2 tight ends, 24 for 159 and 6.6 yards per carry. Why didn't they play 3 linebackers? Why wasn't Dorian Williams a bigger part of this idea for stopping Miami? I know that they're very good in terms of motion, and obviously they have some creative passing schemes, but you got to get the right people on the field. And I'm guessing the Bills were pretty pleased with how they played that Kansas City game defensively out of nickel and dime. But this is a different situation. This is a different offense. I'm a little surprised that they didn't play 3 linebackers more, especially when they Like I said, Miami ran the ball out of either 2 tight ends or 2 backs on 24 of those 32 runs. And you gave up over 6 yards per carry. They go 8 for 38 out of 11 personnel. I don't know about that. What were the issues with the run defense? Well, it's not hard to figure this one out. Defensive tackles can't hold their gap and miss tackles. Jordan Phillips, Fedarian Mathis, Deion Walker, just not consistent with their anchor, not consistent defending the run. A lot of processing errors in particular for Walker and Mathis. Stepping the wrong way, getting out of their gap, making it easy for them to get displaced and moved out of the way. That creates problems for your second level that can't play downhill. The Dolphins used motion very effectively, which pulled the second level often out of their run fits and then into blocks. It was messy. And the Bills, when they had some good run plays defending the run, it was gap exchanges or some run blitzing. It's not good. Now, hopefully TJ Sanders can come back and help this defensive tackle situation here pretty soon, but it's rough. It's rough. And if teams are going to stay committed to running the ball against Buffalo, it's going to be tough. I just don't think they have the spine of the defense up front, at least, at D tackle and linebacker, to be consistent. The Bills missed 13 tackles. Let's call out who the players were. Terrell Bernard missed 3. Cam Lewis missed 2. Larry Ogunjobi missed 2. And then the following players missed 1. Deion Walker, Fedarian Mathis, Matt Milano, Trey White, Joey Bosa, and Jordan Poyer. Ultimately, the Dolphins could stay two-dimensional. And when you can present the threat of run and pass the whole game, you're a lot harder to defend as opposed to being only one-dimensional. And the Bills trailed for most of this game by multiple scores. And that allowed Miami to stay two-dimensional, which is that's where Miami can actually play. Where you get Miami playing the goofy ball that you see him do is when you get a little lead on them and they don't know how to handle it. The Bills never were able to do that at all. Defensive snap counts, the Bills played 53 snaps of defense. Joey Bosa with one hand played 33 of them. Greg Rousseau, 40. Javon Solomon, 28. Boy, he's rough. Rough. Getting washed all over the place against the run. Getting fooled. He was the contained player on that throwback to Waddle across the field, and he's defending outside zone the other way, and they're throwing the football. Landon Jackson, only 3 snaps before he got injured. At D-tackle, Larry Ogunjobi, 25 snaps. I thought this was his best game, which is good because I've been pretty underwhelmed when it comes to preseason and the first 2 games that he played this year. I thought he played a lot better. Daquan Jones played 25 snaps, but 13 of those at defensive end. Deion Walker, 22 snaps. Pass rush was good for Deion Walker this game. The run defense was not. Fedarian Mathis, 21 snaps. He's a practice squad defensive tackle. Jordan Phillips, 16 snaps. He's a practice squad defensive tackle, in my opinion. At linebacker, Terrell Bernard played all 53. Matt Milano, 43 snaps. Dorian Williams, only 3. At corner, Maxwell Harrison played all 53. Tre'Davious White played 50. Dane Jackson came in for 3 snaps for Trey White when he was looking at his shoulder, I think. Cam Lewis played 49 snaps. Cole Bishop played all 53 snaps. The best defensive player on the field for the Bills was definitely 24. Jordan Poyer played 43. Jordan Hancock played 10. Jamarcus Ingram played 11. Studs and duds. I've got 2 studs for you. Cole Bishop is one of them. Mitch Wisnowski is the other. He was terrific. All 4 punts of his were off. All 4 punts of his were awesome at a 51-yard net on 4 punts. And then duds, Joe Brady and Sean McDermott. I just didn't have the right stuff. Offensively, didn't have the offense in any type of rhythm. Play calling was goofy. Sean McDermott with not going for it on that first 4th down. The surrender run before halftime. Not good. Not good. Real quick on some newsy stuff. Dalton Kincaid is week to week with his hamstring injury. I'm guessing that the Bills play Sunday against Tampa. Then they have the quick turnaround to Houston on Thursday. I think you'll see him after that at the earliest. Landon Jackson has a knee injury. McDermott said the team is still gathering information. He'll be out at least this week, and reports from Jordan Schultz say that he tore his MCL and PCL. And if that's true, that's a lot better than an ACL. If that's true, then he can return this season most likely, which is great news. TJ Sanders, the Bills are opening his 21-day window to practice. And that's great. Not only because the Bills need help at defensive tackle, but TJ Sanders needs to get reps. You know, you watched Deon Walker improve throughout this season, but it's pretty telling. You watch the Dolphins, right? They had a first-round pick in Kenneth Grant. They had, I think, a fourth or a fifth-round pick in Jordan Phillips, and these guys are playing a ton for them. And to see their in-season growth through reps is pretty evident. And I want that for TJ Sanders, and I want to see Deon Walker continue as well. So I don't know if he's going to play this week, but the practice window is opening, and it'll only be a matter of time before Sanders can come back. The Bills are also signing wide receiver Mecole Hardman to the practice squad. Was a 2019 second-round pick of the Chiefs, known for his speed, has some return ability. He's played on the Chiefs his entire career except for 5 games in 2023, and then the Chiefs traded for him back off the Jets. So he's been around the Chiefs. I guess he can give us all the secrets, but he's been a high-variance player. He'll make some plays, but boy, he'll have some blunders. And I think it's pretty telling that for all the time he spent in Kansas City, they went out and got Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton, and they all want him. They all want those players over Mecole Hardman. So I'm not expecting much. The Bills, I mean, they can't get Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel going. So what am I supposed to expect out of Mecole Hardman on the practice squad added in the middle of the season? But I will say you can do a whole lot worse than Mecole Hardman as someone to stash on your practice squad. And then lastly, the Giants fired Brian Daboll as their head coach. Obviously, that becomes interesting for us because, well, you're wanting to see this passing game wake up, and Brian Daboll has coordinated very good passing offenses for the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. Sean McDermott said in his press conference that they have not considered reaching out to him to come and be part of the staff, which I think makes sense. I mean, I'm certainly interested in Brian Daboll, mostly because of the relationship that he has with Josh Allen. I think that means a lot to me. But ultimately, I for as intriguing as it would be, hey, come in, add some wrinkles, help this passing game, I think doing that at this point in the season probably has the potential to be more harmful than helpful. But if Joe Brady does move on for a head coaching gig, or the Bills do move on from Joe Brady, Brian Daboll will be pretty high on my list of candidates, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, folks, there you have it. All 22 review in the books. We'll do herd mentality next. Then we'll start getting ready for this Bucs game in week 11. So don't miss anything. Make sure that you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.